Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Main Street TV. Having some technical issues this morning. Jennifer is not here, so I blame her. What do you think, guys? Can we blame Jennifer?
Sounds good to me.
Whoever isn't around.
So we're kind of the computer we normally use is acting a little funny today, so we had to go with Plan B, but we're gonna make it work. So anyway, welcome to Main Street TV. It is a Monday. Jeremiah is watching himself on his phone right now because he's got to see how good he looks. Stuff here. It's a Monday. It absolutely is a Monday today. I think what the problem was is my whole day got thrown off this morning, guys, and maybe you can fill me in on this. So I woke up this morning and I was just starving. I was like, I'm gonna go get a hearty fast food breakfast. And I went down to go to my fast food breakfast place of choice, Taco Bell, and my favorite employee wasn't there anymore. And it just threw my whole day off. I don't know. Do you guys know anything about why?
Pete Wilson can tell you a thing or two.
We might have one of the more interesting, wild news stories from the crime front to kind of fill in what you're leading me into.
Okay.
It's coming. We've got it stacked up behind all this festival stuff.
All right. Well, we'll get to that. But we had a busy weekend. It was the Ohio Hill Country Festival, also known as the Ohilco Festival. Also, still almost everybody calls it the Coal Festival. So it is kind of confusing because nobody calls it the same thing.
Right.
But there was a lot of fun stuff going on down there. I know Jeremiah was there. Dylan was there, firing cannons, walking in parades, doing all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, we saw Dylan several times during the festival this year. Saw him Wednesday night, Friday night, and saw him Saturday night up there.
Dylan loves it.
Dylan was out in the thick of things.
Yeah, very cool. And we got a lot of Friday night football we can talk about. Looks like it was a tough weekend for the Vinton County Vikings, but the Oaks snapped their losing streak. Or no, sorry, not the Oaks. The Oaks, they had to cancel, didn't they?
They had to cancel.
Yeah, they had to cancel. Right. Yeah, they had to cancel.
Too many injuries.
Yeah, too many injuries. So, a lot going on.
Lots going on. Before we get to the Ohilco, I'd like to mention today is 9/11.
It's true.
So I believe we all probably can remember and maybe tell a real quick story of where we were when that happened. Do you remember?
Yeah,
James?
I was in computer lab in high school. So we were in computer lab when it first happened, and I was fairly young, didn't really understand what was happening, and we went to maybe one more period after that, and then they sent everybody home from school. And that's my memory of it.
Okay. Pete?
Right. Well, I was working for this company, but in our former building downtown when I was a radio-only employee. That was before the Telegram was under our ownership here. And I was going through my morning routine, and I happened to be in the front office where our GM at that time was. He had a portable TV in there. And there had already been one plane into the first tower, and they were still trying to figure out what was happening there. And then I happened to be standing in there and saw live the second plane go into the second tower, and that's when we knew that we had some kind of terrorist attack or whatever. And I remember our GM said that was intentional. We've got some bad things going on. And then, of course, it all unfolded. So 9/11, kind of like for the younger generation or middle-aged generation.
Thanks for calling us younger.
Right. Kind of like the Kennedy assassination.
Oh, sure.
Everybody knows where they were. And the folks who are senior citizens and whatever that are oldest, I remember when the Kennedy assassination occurred, they remembered the date of when Roosevelt died during World War II in 1945. So, it'll be a red letter date forever, for sure. And so it's 22nd anniversary today, and I think Jeremiah caught this when he was on his way to work. The Lions Club, they were putting out some flags today. As far as we know, there's no anniversary events today, as there are some years. As this is the 22nd, on the milestone years like the 20th and the 25th, you'll probably see some events.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know a couple years ago they had a nice one at Alumni Stadium for the 20th anniversary.
Right, and one of the things that's kind of amazing, if you listen to some of the newscasts lately, we had 3,000 people or so die in that attack. A lot of the public safety people, firefighters, police officers. But now they say that the death toll of people who died because of cancer, lung diseases or whatever, as a result of 9/11 being exposed, that number now is greater than that same day casualties, which is amazing.
Sure.
Wow. And so people are still have been affected by that, families and so forth. So we should never forget the day.
Right.
So that's why we didn't forget it here on Main Street TV.
Just wanted to make sure we mentioned that.
Right.
This morning.
Exactly.
Sure.
So on to brighter news, and real quick before we get into that, Dylan. So, like I said, we had to switch over. We're having some technical issues behind the scenes. Dylan doesn't have the photos, but he's working hard to get them. But Dylan, if you want to grab that computer mouse over there, that might make that easier for you. All right. Okay. Jeremiah, on with the Ohilco.
Yeah. So I was up there Saturday evening, was there for the grand finale parade. Not sure how many units they had, but we were there for quite a time as those units passed by. Had folks from all over in that, including folks from here in Jackson County. And they gave away a number of awards following that grand finale parade. And I have the list of winners here for that I can go over. So the Baton Corps category, first place went to Eclipse, while Show Dolls earned second place. In the float category, first place went to the Hawking County Fallen Heroes float.
Okay.
So they traveled down from Logan for this parade. Second place went to Bundy Elementary and their float. Third place went to the Wellston Lions Club float. That's the Santa float.
I saw Santa was like decked
He's on
out
vacation
for the holidays, right?
He was.
Hey,
Christmas in July,
It ain't July. It's mid-September.
Mid-September.
It's time for Santa to be getting back to work.
He was still on vacation for the Ohilco there, James.
I don't know. I feel like he's slacking. It's time to. It
time
takes
to get
a
back
couple
to the
months
grind,
to build all those toys, man.
Yeah. So
get back to it.
They always put him at the end of the parade up there, and
right.
he's always a reminder that hey, Christmas is coming up, guys. So,
true.
In the marching band category, first place went to Vinton County High School. Second place went to Christian Life Academy. And third place went to Clay High School.
Okay.
And they also did a auxiliary and flag corps category. And first place went to Vinton County High School as well.
Okay.
And then they also do a number of announcements of raffle and drawing winners following the parade.
Okay.
So Bill Holzapple was the lucky winner in the Wellston American Legion Post 371 raffle. He won 100 pounds of beef, 100 pounds of pork, and he also got a 7 cubic foot freezer to put it all in.
Oh, okay.
And the beef.
That's nice of them to include that freezer because I would have been like, thanks, but what am I supposed to do with
200
this?
pounds of meat.
like, thanks, guys.
Yeah. So the beef was purchased.
Guess I just start my own little grocery store.
Right. So the beef was purchased at the Jackson County Fair livestock sale.
Okay.
While the pork was purchased from the Vinton County livestock sale.
All right.
So they did purchase all that meat local.
Cool.
Now the Jackson County 40 and 8 had a raffle for artillery. So they had some guns that they had for raffle. On the ticket, they were supposed to write their first and last name, and somebody just wrote their first name.
Sure.
So somebody named Jack out there.
Well, we'll definitely be able to track down Jack.
Yeah, Jack. No last name
No
given.
phone number?
They had his phone number.
Okay.
So hopefully they'll be able to contact him. John Brisker and a Branch Oosley.
All right.
Those three gentlemen all
John,
won.
Branch, and
Jack. Yeah, they all won a gun in that
JJ
raffle.
And B.
Right. And then the Wellston Hope Church had 2 raffle drawings. So Brittany Fott won a squash melon.
What's a squash melon?
I think it's like it's kind of like a stuffed animal.
A stuffed animal. Okay.
Yeah, and like when you squeeze it, like it kind of squishes,
Gotcha.
And then Cindy Kaufman won a Scentsy warmer.
What's a Scentsy warmer?
I think it's like you put the little bars in, they melt.
Oh, so
it's kind of like burning a candle, but not burning a candle.
Gotcha.
And
some
then
good prizes.
Huh?
These are some good prizes.
Some good prizes.
Ask what they all are.
Right. And then the Wellston Ohilco Society, they do booths up there as well along Pride Park there on the walkway. So they did a booth contest, and they had winners in that. First place went to Wellston City Schools. Second place went to Wellston Hope Church. And third place went to the Jackson County Health Department. And the theme this year was Cheers to 50 Years, which was very appropriate.
50 years for the festival, right?
50 years for the festival.
Very
and
cool.
We would call that your semi-centennial celebration that they had this year.
All right.
And then Wellston Ahilka Society also gave out a number of community improvement awards to local businesses.
Okay.
So these are businesses that may have done, something to their storefront or done, improvements to make themselves better for the community.
Mm-hmm. Did they get a Scentsy warmer too?
No, they got a plaque.
Okay.
They got a plaque.
Nice.
Saying Community Improvement Awards.
Right.
Those include Broadway and Company.
All right. What is Broadway and Company?
I believe it's a salon on Broadway.
All right.
They're in Wellston.
Okay, cool.
And they, if I recall, it's there next to the Wellston City Administration building.
Okay.
And they had taken a building that I'm pretty sure was vacant and nothing had been in it for a number of years that I can recall, and had completely transformed it into this nice storefront.
All right. Very nice.
And you also had Dairy Queen of Wellston. I know recently they had redone their...
they did that mural?
Well, they had done the mural inside. The Wellston City Schools art students art club did that. But the outside...
upside down blizzard.
Right. The upside down blizzard. But the outside of the building, I believe, had been redone to be more modern in the recent years. I'm not sure when that took place. But
I don't know.
Yeah. And then Viva... Is it I can't say it now.
Jalisco,
the Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
They did a number of improvements
to
their Mexican business there. It's located there on the corner of First and Ohio Avenue in Wellston. Scotty's on First Sports Bar and Grill. They just opened last week, I think, right? Pete?
Yeah, in just the last couple weeks. They had a soft opening maybe 2 weeks ago, and they did a ribbon cutting a little later, and there was a big event there on Friday that will be in the news as well.
And you had talked a little bit about what it used to be, and it's set for a number of years.
It was the famous Janettas. That was a prime night spot, not only in Wellston but in the county in the 70s and 80s and like that. It was a real go-to spot. For entertainment and nighttime tavern and sports bar type establishment. And so it's kind of reborn.
Right. And it's right there on First Street near, between Railroad and Ohio Avenue is where that's located. And during the festival, it was a happening place to be. It seemed like it was a lot of people in there, and also out on their little patio there on the walkway as well.
Right. Between, Scotty's on First, they're on First Street, and then they're on the corner of First and Ohio, Patio Grubs and Subs. Between those two establishments, the downtown has definitely received a big jolt in a positive way, especially on the weekends and in the evenings now, because they're both doing a very good business, and that's good for the downtown.
Yes, I agree. Another business that received one of these awards was Daisy's Hometown Coffee Shop.
Okay.
It's opened in the last several years, I believe. They did some renovations recently and have added it's like a little patio out in front of their business. They also have that over roof now. And I know that where they were in that building, because they're in the same building, I believe they call all that over there the shops on First.
Okay.
And there's like a salon, I think, in that building. There's like a boutique, and then you also have the coffee shop. And where the coffee shop had originally opened, there's now a salon, and the coffee shop had moved over to a different part of that building. And they now have, it looked like a drive-through window for that business where you can drive through and pick your coffee up through the alley there off of First Street.
Okay.
So that's pretty nice.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool. Well, a lot. Oh, we got more?
Yeah, we got more.
Okay.
Pete mentioned the Patio Grubs and Suds. They added that patio there to that business. It used to be formerly Rocket Pizza, and they completely redone, I think, the outside of that building and did the patio, and they got all kinds of seating out there. That place was packed during the Ahilka, like Pete was saying, and I saw the patio was full out there. Not a lot. There's some space to sit inside, but their big feature is that outdoor patio that they have. And then the final one was the Main Attraction Hair Salon.
Okay.
And they were a recent business that had opened as well, I think in the last year or so. And they've also done, a lot of those downtown buildings need a lot of TLC.
Mm-hmm.
And when one of those businesses come in, they always try to do a lot to, spruce up that downtown.
All right. Right on. Well, congratulations to those folks. All part of the Ohio Hill Country Festival and also Wellston's Sesquicentennial.
Right. Yeah. So for Wellston's Sesquicentennial this year, I know earlier in the week, I think last week we showed the cannon being fired. We did. We showed the cannon being fired, and that kind of marked the Sesquicentennial, the 150th years. And the last time they fired that, I guess, was 50 years prior during the centennial, the 100th anniversary. And somebody was telling me that since then, there had been a few times where it had been test fired, even not during like a special celebration or anything, but
intentionally.
Yeah, right.
All right.
So that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I know Pete had. I don't know if you want to talk about your results or not, or do you want me to keep going?
Well, you can talk about the royalty.
The royalty.
Yeah, we don't want to forget them.
Right.
That's always something they do right at the very end to kind of transition into, hey, listen, we're finishing and we're ready for next year.
Ready for next year. So the 2024 Wellston Ahilco royalty, they wrapped up on Saturday evening with the crowning of that royalty. And I don't know if Dylan's ready for pictures.
I have some photos of some royalty.
Okay.
That's probably what we have.
We'll start with the Queen in Court.
I have Junior Miss. Yeah. Oh, you can't see that. Oh.
Well,
I have it on the screen. Go ahead and throw it up.
Cool. All right, I threw it up.
We'll see what you got and see if I can't name who the individuals are.
You just go, Jeremiah, and Dylan will do his best to keep up with you because it's going to be several second delay on your phone there.
Okay. So on the screen now, this is your 2024 Wellston Ohio Hill Country Festival Junior Miss Queen and Court. From the left, you have first attendant Ava Fenwick, Junior Miss Queen Milena McFadden, and second attendant, that's Peyton Eby. And they were crowned during the festival. You also had your 2024 Wellston Ohio Hill Country Festival Little Miss Queen and Court. Those included the first attendant, Amelia Dupree, Little Miss Queen, Tatum Arthur, second attendant, Lillian Mannering. And then as for the big girls go, I shouldn't call them the big girls, the Miss Queen, I guess.
You just say older.
Yeah, your 2024 Wellston Ohio Hill Country Queen and Court. Your first attendant went to, that is Mackenzie Collins, Queen Kate Ross, and second attendant Addison Bowman.
Okay.
Was who got crowned, and they are your 2024 royalties, so they will serve starting today.
Okay.
Through
through to this week next year.
Yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations to those guys. I'm sure that was very exciting. Worked hard for that, and now they get to go to the Pumpkin Festival.
Right. Well, first festival will probably be Apple Festival, unless they got one this week.
Well, the Paw Paw Festivals this weekend. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that they really do royalty, but the Mothman Festivals this weekend too.
Yeah.
No break in the fall festivals.
All kinds of fall festivals. Yeah. I will say that following the crowning, they had a firework display, fabulous firework display.
Fabulous, you say?
It was great. They shot off fireworks from the same place they do the 4th of July, and it was, I don't know, probably at least a 20-minute show. Yeah. We live streamed most of that. I missed the first couple of minutes, but here's an excellent photo that I captured. Some of the royalty.
Jeremiah's like, here's an excellent photo that I captured.
One of two. This is the one that we're going to use.
Excellent photos that you captured.
Yes, there's another one that I love that just works so great.
Okay.
This one we're going to use in print because it has a little more color to it than the other one. But you can see some of the royalty. Page, Pete.
That would be that would be on me.
So you can see some of the royalty here and some of the crowd watching the fireworks.
Yeah.
But it was just a real great display to wrap up the festival, and the fireworks are done this year. like we were talking about the two special milestones, the city celebrating its sesquicentennial, and then you had the festival celebrating its semi-centennial. So to kind of cap those milestones, they had
to answer your question, JJ, yes, we're off the radio.
Okay. Gotcha.
We're having
need to push it in.
no, it's on the board in the KOV studio to switch it back. There's nothing we can do in here.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Sorry, guys. We're having all kinds of technical difficulties.
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday,
Manic
guys.
Monday.
Yeah, so we're doing our best here. Thank you for sticking with us, and we'll have the bugs worked out tomorrow. Yeah, we just had a little bit of computer issue this morning. If you normally listen on the radio, I apologize. We had to switch to a different computer that wasn't connected to the radio stream to do the Facebook stream, so we're unfortunately not on YPC this morning. All right, Jeremiah, back to the fireworks.
Just the fireworks wrapped up this year's 4-day run of the festival,
Wednesday through Saturday,
and that is now in the history books. So next festival we'll be looking towards will be the Jackson Apple Festival. I'm already working on my preview for that, and we'll have that in a future edition of the Telegram. So be sure to watch for that along with the schedule.
Yeah,
So,
it's
it's fast approaching.
Yeah,
and it's a busy week this week too. Lots of meetings to cover this week and events going on. So just be sure to pick up that Telegram. That's Wednesday and Saturday. It's published, and we try to push stuff out on the website as soon as we can. So I'll go ahead and take my leave here, and Pete will get into rest of the coverage.
Okay, you don't want to stay and talk about tacos with us?
No, the taco story is very interesting, and a lot of people have really enjoyed that story. It did make my day on Friday when I read it. Pete did very well with the lead and the headline for that story. So kudos to him.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead.
Right, thank you, Jeremiah. We appreciate your help.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate all your work at the Ohio Hill Country Festival, and we'll chat with you later in the week.
Very good.
All right. Yes. Thank you to
Jeremiah. Do you care to scoot your stuff away and let Pete kind of have that spot real fast?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Oh yes.
We're
We
just
want to
running very smooth today.
Yeah, we want to recognize Jeremiah because he's got 10, 12 years experience in local newspapers and really loves to cover the festivals and fairs and does a great job on that. And so I took advantage of his talents and skills. And
all right, he's looking real nervous right now. He's coming back over.
I don't know if you turned this off. I will say on Wednesday I will celebrate 12 years in the business.
12 years.
Congratulations.
How about just a pup as far as I'm concerned, but experienced pup.
Pete had 12 years before he was out of high school, Jeremiah. Step up your game.
All right. Well,
Pete started as soon as he could read.
Well, anyway.
He was reporting on the daycare newsletter.
Well, we had just about everybody there at the festival. Red Thompson Jr. was there a couple days. I was there on Saturday as well. Of course, Dylan doing a lot of video work as well. And the radio boys, of course, there every day for a live remote. So, Total Media was all over the festival. And I'm glad that we were because, you talked about my experience. I've been to most of the Ohilco festivals over the years, and I can say without any qualification, this was one of the very best. I mean, the table was set because of the centennial for the centennial for the city of Wellston and the semi-centennial for the festival. But it just came off well. It was planned well. And then, of course, the thing, you can't control the weather. Yeah. Just about as good as you can get.
Absolutely.
I mean, warm, but, there was a cloud cover kind of on Saturday. It was very comfortable the whole time. And it drives the festival and fair people wild because you plan for a festival and a crowd, but it's not something you have to do. There's lots of other things you can do. If the weather's not good, some people might they won't come out.
I wasn't able to make it down. I appreciate Dylan going down there and kind of doing some things for me, but it looked like they really had a good crowd for
they really did. We're gonna run a picture or two that will show that, but if you were there, it was especially on Saturday. And, the Canon angle that they did on Wednesday really got things launched very well. A lot of people were interested in that.
There are a lot of people that are kind of like, how's
that going to go? How many people's ever seen a Civil War cannon fired? It's kind of like
especially on Main Street of
Right,
down.
right. And, I was worried the whole time because the thing was pointed at the city
Oh, sure.
building.
It's one thing to maybe go watch a Civil War reenactment and see them, or like at Tecumseh where they shoot the cannons off. That's one thing. This was another.
No, exactly. And, one little aside on that, people in Wellston, the locals probably know this, but maybe a lot of other people don't. There is a cannon that is a twin cannon to the one downtown that's in Ridgewood Cemetery in Wellston. And it's there near the front of the cemetery. It's quite a conversation piece, but it is, I was told by Peggy Shoemade, who I saw Saturday there. She's been a retired businesswoman in Wellston, and now a Rotarian, very active in civic affairs. She says that those cannons are twins. Okay. I don't know whether they were secured at the same time or not, but they do date back to the Civil War. She wasn't exactly sure how Wellston acquired them, but they've been there as long as she can remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, a few other results from the Ohio Hill Country Festival that Jeremiah didn't give you. He gave a lot of it, but there was a few more. There was a lot going on. Dylan Euler did me a big favor because there was so much to cover. Mm-hmm. He, on Friday night when we have all that football going on, he went up to the karaoke contest.
Yeah. He entered it too, didn't you, Dylan?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. I don't blame him for that. But they had, I guess, 25 contestants. They all got to sing 2 songs, so it took a while.
Uh-huh.
But when it was all ended, they named 3 winners. They, a lot of cash was available. They upped the cash this year because of the semi-centennial year, I guess. But when it was all said and done, the winner was Isaac Young of Kingston. He was first place. Second place was Tom McKnight of Chesapeake, and third place was a local girl, Lacey Hauser of Jackson. So congratulations to them. We'll have their pictures in the paper on Wednesday. Downtown on Saturday, the Dan Lockhart Jr. Memorial Car Show was held. The Black Diamond Masonic Lodge does that, James, and this was the 10th year for it. And they wanted to do it a little differently this year, probably because, it's a special year. Mm-hmm. They had $100 cash prizes to the top 7 entrants, and there was 72 vehicles involved. So that was successful. The top class award, which is the very highest award, it went to Steve Stiles of Chillicothe for a 1979 Chevrolet Camaro Z28. And we'll have a picture of that classic car amongst all the pictures that we're going to run as well.
All right.
At the depot, for the ones interested in culture, we had an art show, exactly, and also a quilt needlework and craft show in different rooms in the depot, and both of those got a lot of attention. In the art show, the top award, the Sharon Davis Stubbe Award, went to Timothy White of Wellston. He had a charcoal drawing entitled My Mother's Favorite Chair. Very nice. I saw that on Saturday when I was there. And the People's Choice Award was won by William Keck of Wellston for an oil painting of the First Baptist Church of Wellston. That's one of the main churches right out there on the main drag on Pennsylvania Avenue. Very iconic site there in Wellston. In the Quilt Needlework and Craft Show, the winner was Lenore Houston. She was the best of show winner for a quilt that showed animal figures. It was very, very, very nice. The Marquet does that quilt show every year. And I said from the very beginning, a lot of people don't associate quilts with art, but I tell you what, they are truly art.
Oh, sure.
What people are able to come up with.
It's incredible.
And just not the craft of making them, which usually takes a long time or whatever. But anyway, congratulations to Lenore Houston, longtime area resident, for her champion quilt. The best of the People's Choice Award went to Brenda Kendrick Hill, very well-known lady here in Jackson County. She's been the retired treasurer for the Wellston City Schools and the Jackson City Schools. She won for a needlework piece. It's also very handsome. We'll have pictures of all these award-winning pieces.
And
in
Dylan's
paper.
putting them up some of them up on the screen now. We just can't see it because we've got we have our monitors messed up.
Right, and so I can't comment on them as they're being put up. But some of the things I'm talking about, you have seen or will see as Dylan shuffles the deck there on the many pictures we took. We expect James to have, of course, we'll have front page coverage and overall story running down the highlights of the Ohio Hill Country Festival. A lot of pictures as well from all the days. all 4 days, especially, the big finale day on Saturday. So, I mean, all in all, it was honestly a great festival. And I know this firsthand, Jeremiah does too. All these groups that put on these festivals and fairs, it's a fairly small group. They're volunteer people.
Yeah.
But the Ohilco Society, that's, the group that puts on the Ohio Hill Country Festival. There's, a number of names on the roster, but I'm told that basically 4, 5, 6 people really do the yeoman's work on that and make that happen. And when you see it unfold for those 4 days and you see all those people downtown, you can't thank those people enough for what they do. Logan Lindemood, I think, is the president of the Ohilco Society. The husband-wife team of Dustin and Lexi Kaufman do a lot too. Aaron Dupree, who's assistant fire chief for the city. There's lots of people that contribute. They see what's going on and they support this event or they help conduct this event, et cetera. The Rotary Club did the art show. Tammy Phillips, who is with Make Wellston Beautiful, she was the coordinator director of the Needlework show. So, it's a real community effort. And it truly was a great success this year. Everybody in Wellston that was involved can pat themselves on the back there.
Well, congratulations to them for putting on such an awesome festival.
Right. All this coverage coming, a lot of this coverage upcoming here in our Wednesday paper. And as Jeremiah referred to, we're already transitioning to pre-coverage on the Apple Festival. That is next week, starting on Tuesday through the following Saturday. A lot going on there. Black Hawk will be the big entertainment on Friday night on the country music side, but much else going on 2 different stages, 3 big parades. But, we'll get into that later in the week.
Okay.
We're ready to transition to tacos now.
All right.
I know you're anxious to do this.
Let's taco about it.
Well, I was called down to the police station last week by Sergeant Richie Kaiser. He is a veteran Jackson policeman. And he had investigated 2 different cases that he gave us news on. And we're going to talk about one of them now. And I will have to say, my jaw dropped when I took the notes on this. And this wasn't something that was put out in a news release or put out on Facebook. There wasn't a lot of knowledge about it. And so it was real revelation, through our newspaper readers, whether they were on the website or in our print edition, this story. But it's true. I don't know. Maybe we'll make some television show sometime. But what happened was it revolved around a female employee at the Jackson Taco Bell restaurant that is there at 1021 East Main Street out there just by the Jackson Heights toward Walmart. Megan W. Bridges was the female suspect involved. She's 36 years old. She's a Jackson area resident and had worked at Taco Bell. She doesn't anymore, and I'm about to tell you why.
Yeah, she's not there anymore now.
No, the police department had received information that Bridges was selling or distributing methamphetamine from the Taco Bell restaurant as an employee during working hours, both from the counter inside the restaurant and from the drive-through window. What the police were able to determine was, and they don't know how much there might have been, but they were able to pin down at least 3 different of these transactions that took place. And they were arranged buys. They gave me a few details. I didn't go into all of them on the newspaper story, but it wasn't just people coming in where, she'd say, hey, you want some meth? Or somebody coming in, can I get some meth? They were arranged. They came in, they bought food, but they also had something else stuffed in their bag, which was methamphetamine, which they had made arrangements to purchase. I'm not sure whether it was in advance or at the time, but they purchased methamphetamine there. And
where was she hiding this methamphetamine?
Well, I'm getting to that too. I'm not sure where she had all of it. I know she might have had she had a book bag, in her, and I'm sure she had a purse, and she had herself too. But when the police went there to arrest her, she had 7 warrants. All right, because they could already arrest her on that without pinning down anything on the methamphetamine.
It makes you wonder how she got a job with 7.
Well, that has been commented on quite a bit because she had warrants from 3 different police agencies, including the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, the Chillicothe Police Department, and the Ross County Sheriff's Office, most of them drug-related, I think. But when the police went in to arrest her a couple of weeks ago, it was on Wednesday, August the 30th. Of course, because she had a warrant, they had the right to arrest her on the spot. They confronted her about what they had learned in their investigation, and she apparently made admissions, confessions to what she had done. And when they did the search on her, they were prepared to do the search on her, she willingly turned over 34.2 grams of methamphetamine that was in her bra.
Which is apparent. I mean, I don't know how what size of an order of meth you get with your taco, but apparently that's a lot, right?
Well, put it this way, just what was in her bra was considered 10 times the bulk amount.
Yeah.
When
so if
you
she
ha-
would have had 1/10 of that, it still would have been.
Yes, it still would have been a felony type
Yeah.
thing. You know, when you have the bulk amount, and also if it's packaged a certain way, even though the law enforcement may not see you actually selling it,
Mm-hmm.
you are considered to be a trafficker because this is way too much for a user, you
Mhm.
know. So, you know, that kind of assumption is made and it's used in court. But they arrested her on the warrants, and she will face charges of aggravated trafficking in drugs because of her alleged transactions at Taco Bell. Now, I need to say, to my knowledge and to the police's knowledge, she was the only person involved in this. You know, they interviewed the manager and so forth,
Mhm.
and nobody else seemed to know that this was going on, or at least anything
Mhm.
proven that this was going on. We don't know. She had worked there for a while. We don't know if it was going on for more than a month, but we know that there were 3 separate transactions that the police were able to pin down. And, you know, they could have done a controlled buy too, but
Mhm.
because of the warrants, they were able to kind of move more aggressively in making the
Mhm.
arrest. And then she confessed and they found it on her. And so
Hmm.
that's the Taco Bell methamphetamine story.
That's a-
strange.
That's a wild story, and that is definitely late night talk show banter worthy.
Right. Strange but true. And yes, we posted that, you know, at about the same time that it was printed in the paper. And even though, you know, it was behind our paywall because,
Mhm.
you know, that's what we are, you know, we're a newspaper, we're subscription based. It still got a lot of hits, a lot of shares, a lot of
Mhm.
comments. A lot of people had some fun with it. And some people were just appalled that something like that can happen, all kinds of
Sure.
reactions on that. But that story was in our Saturday paper
Yeah.
and it's online. If you haven't checked it out yet,
So
you want to
what-
see all the details.
So is it likely that we'll have any more information on this story anytime soon, or is this just in the court system and it'll be?
Well, it's probably going to take a little
Yeah.
time. She's arrested on the warrant, so they can hold her, all right?
Mhm.
They'll probably take the case to the grand jury. And that's where, you know, 9 people will listen to the prosecutor on the evidence, and then they will likely indict her based on the evidence on charges of aggravated trafficking in drugs, although the charge or charges could be different.
Mhm.
But that's what it looks like
Sure.
that the police believe that they will turn out to be. There was another big police investigation that occurred late Thursday night into Friday morning, and this was on our front page Saturday too. And that was a stabbing
Yes.
that occurred at a Jackson residence. We were able to piece together enough information to get out a newspaper story and a website story. We're going to be following up today on this. But what we knew Friday for publication and, you know, for the radio was that this occurred at a residence at 10 Fleetwood Avenue in Jackson. And it involved 2 women who lived at that residence. They were the suspect and the victim. The suspect is 41-year-old Rebecca Kearns. The victim is Angela Stanley. They both lived at that residence. And according to police, Rebecca stabbed Angela multiple times with a kitchen butcher knife. I was told that serious injuries, obviously, to Angela Stanley. I'm not sure what hospital she sent to. She probably ended up at a trauma center. She was initially took to the Holzer Medical Center, Jackson Hospital. These are some of the holes that we'll try to follow up on. The injuries were considered very serious, and the police, you know, they're not medical people necessarily, but they've been around situations like this where there's injuries, some stabbings and shootings. They felt that maybe Angela Stanley was very fortunate that she survived this incident because multiple stab wounds, and, you know, we know from watching television, and if you know anything about biology, zoology, you know, the human body, you know, if a certain artery is hit in a certain place or organ is damaged, you know, it's probably going to be your life.
Sure.
Or very well could be. You could bleed out. And in that way, at least, as bad as this was, Angela Stanley may have been extremely fortunate. So, that was another big story that was in our Saturday
and
paper.
so what was the charges on that?
The charge right now is, I'm glad you asked that. I didn't say it. They have charged her with attempted murder,
Which is
a
big,
I'm
more
guessing,
than they would maybe
Yeah.
do initially in a case like this.
a lot of times when you have a very bad assault with major injuries, you're going to have a charge called felonious assault.
Mm-hmm.
This is a step up from that.
Yeah.
They believe, even from the initial evidence that they had, that this was more than just a vicious attack. This was an attempt to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it wasn't, it very well could have happened.
Yeah.
And so that's the charge that they're going with to start off with.
Mhm.
Obviously, Rebecca Kern's in jail as a
And
result
so
of that.
do we have an update on the victim? Like her condition? Is she still
We're
in the hospital?
we're gonna have to follow up
Okay.
on that. They felt that that she was going to survive this incident, and that it was maybe amazing that she was going to.
Mhm.
But she was actually able to be interviewed that night
Okay.
by the police before she was taken to the hospital. So she was conscious at least through all of this, or at least through part of it.
All right.
Okay, another, it seems to just pancake. I don't know whether it was a full moon out or not, but there was another incident that was on the bad news category. This happened in Vinton County, and this was in the early morning hours on Friday. A man from Vinton County who had a Vinton address. His name was James Earl Basil Elkins, age 22. This was a traffic-related fatality that occurred on Covered Bridge Road near Wilkesville in
Mhm.
Vinton County. He was operating a pickup truck. His truck went off the right side of the roadway, and this is at 3:30 a.m. on Friday morning, all right? He went off the right side of the roadway, came back onto the roadway, back off the left side, struck an embankment, and overturned multiple times. So this is a very, very traumatic accident. He was not wearing a seatbelt and was thrown from the pickup truck. He was pronounced dead at the scene by the Vinton County coroner. A passenger, Jacob Levi Ray Taylor, 21, he's got a Gallipolis address. He was in the truck as well. He was not wearing a seatbelt. He was thrown into the rear seat, fortunately, maybe, not thrown out of the vehicle. He was treated at the crash scene for minor injuries and released. So he was obviously very fortunate.
Isn't that, I don't know, unbelievable? That neither of them were wearing the seatbelt, and one of them was killed, and one of them only had minor injuries.
Right. That was something. A whole lot may have been, where the point of impact was.
Yeah.
It also may have been the fact that Mr. Elkins was thrown out of the vehicle.
Yeah.
So, but
Wear your seatbelt, people.
Oh yeah, wear your seatbelt. The patrol does remind all motorists to wear seatbelts on each and every trip and to avoid distractions while operating a motor vehicle. This was a single vehicle wreck.
Mhm.
Vinton County MS and the Wilkesville Volunteer Fire Department were on the scene.
Horrible. Only 22 years old.
Only 22 years old. And so, we're not cats, we're people. We get one shot, when something like this happens. So
Very sad.
a lot of bad news to report in Saturday's paper. And, that's the thing when you do a small town paper, you work on the news staff or whatever. It's just a collection of great community stuff like what happened in Wellston over the weekend, but then all these other things happening as well.
Yeah.
We do our very best to keep up with all of it, and we know we aren't able to do it, but we give it a good college try.
Yeah.
All right, some other things that you don't hear a whole lot of talk about, but it's really important news. For the second straight week, Jackson County is leading the state in per capita COVID-19 cases.
So explain what it means by per capita.
Per capita.
Because obviously we don't have the most
Right,
cases.
I know that's confusing to a lot of people. The reason that the Ohio Department of Health puts it that way, it's to put all 88 counties where you have widely varying
Sure.
population on the same
on
the same scale. They take the county's population and extrapolate it out to 100,000, and they take the number of raw cases and extrapolate that out to a 100,000 population rather than the real population. Like in Jackson County, 32,000 plus. Something like Franklin County where there's 1 million, it comes down the
Yeah.
other way. But that way you have a real comparison, because Jackson County is not one of the highest counties in raw numbers, but it is if you take into account the amount of population. So what is Jackson County's COVID count? It went up from 1 week to the next, from August 31st to September 7th. It went up to 119 on August the 31st. That was a Thursday. To last Thursday, 162. That's a pretty good percentage increase. The per capita, for what this is worth, is 367.1 per 100,000 population. On the other end, Holmes County, which is an Amish country, they had a total of 5 cases of COVID-19 that were documented. 5 cases in Holmes County, which is actually higher population than Jackson County. I think they have 42,000. 5, but 162 in Jackson. That's amazing there.
Well, as you mentioned, it's an Amish community, so how many?
That has something to do with it.
Yeah, it's just not. It's just as much there. It's just not being reported.
Well,
probably.
that is a very good point to bring out. That could explain a lot of it. But you also have to feel that maybe anywhere, Jackson County included, there's probably unreported cases.
Oh, sure.
Because, how does the health department find out? When somebody takes a self-test, they get sick.
Right, yeah.
And then you have all these cases where somebody's sick and they think they got a cold.
Sure. Well, yeah, it's just cases that are being tested through somebody that's reporting them, whether it's the hospital or a pharmacy or the health department, whatever. If you're not testing or you're home testing, then that's not being counted either.
No, and then, a lot of people got kind of, cold to the COVID-19 thing after going through what we did a year or so ago, and they're probably thinking, well,
3 years ago,
it's just something we got to live with, as opposed to the shutdowns and the screaming headlines and all like that. But it's very much worth noting that the cases in Jackson County are relatively high. They went up a good bit from 1 week to the last week, and we're going into a period where it's not going to be 80 and 70 degrees anymore. There's going to be more things inside, and we just had a big crowd at the Ahilco Festival.
Sure, big
and
crowds.
Those are the kind of things we were talking a whole lot about, even just last year.
Yep. So, do you have there in this story information about vaccine boosters and recommendations for things like that?
This is what all the health departments are saying, and you can hear this on the national news too. The CDC is working on the next vaccine, and it has to be a different vaccine because, this is the damnable thing about it. The COVID-19 virus, we call it COVID-19, but it's variant. They're variants of it. The same thing that hit us on the first wave, that hit us on the second wave are not exactly the same thing. That's why probably the vaccines are not 100% foolproof.
Sure.
And that is also why now there's a lot of talk about whether we're going to be taking COVID-19 vaccines the way we take flu shots every year.
You're taking one
and then
every year.
You've got to come up with something that works too.
Right.
So that's what the CDC is working on. And then people will have to make their own decision. I know a lot of people took shots last year and the year before being told that this will protect you against COVID-19. And we know that's not completely true. Now, there is a lot of talk that even if you do get COVID-19 after taking a vaccine, and many people did, it will not be as severe. So that's another thing to be thinking about. But you just have to do your own research, talk to your doctor, and think on what you need to do. And we'll see how the COVID-19 cases do, how serious they are. We know the first wave, some cases were very serious. We had a lot of deaths. It's not that we don't have any now. Statewide, I'll throw this in, 8,607 COVID-19 cases statewide in the period from August 31st to September 7th. To me, that sounds like a lot. 163 people in the hospital because of COVID statewide. 13 people died because of related deaths in Ohio because of COVID.
In the last month?
In the last week.
In the last week.
In the last week.
Okay.
So I'm guessing that those numbers could be going up. So we'll just have to see. I mean, every situation, I guess, is a little different, but we will certainly keep our eye on that. I know that, James, I saw on your calendar, your planning calendar, that Nick Rupert is going to be in to talk about the Benton County Air Show later in the week.
County Air Show.
But we just want to
roast chickens.
Yeah, we just roast chickens up there. If you enjoy the chicken or you enjoy the airplane stuff, you're going to win on both counts. But that is next Sunday. The way it falls on the calendar, sometimes it's right after the Apple Festival, sometimes it's before. This time it's before, but that is an event worth attending too. We don't want to let that get lost in the shuffle. between our two big festivals here in Jackson County. Very important for the Vinton County Airport and for tourism in Vinton County, but that is next Sunday afternoon. And we've had stories in the paper and on the radio, and we'll hear a lot more about that from Nick Rupert.
Yeah, excited to have him in and talk about that.
All right.
They do Santa Claus parachutes in, right?
Santa Claus will parachute. There'll be skydivers. There'll be the folks that do maneuvers in the air. There'll be the old time planes. There'll be something really for the whole family. But the MacArthur Eagles do that roast barbecue chicken, and it is talked up the way that the Jackson County Veals are.
Oh, sure.
With the Lions Club and the way that the way they talk about the bubbles at Michael's. It's just something that you don't want to.
Unique thing to that event,
right? You don't want to miss. So we're running out of time, and I don't want to not mention the sports because we had 3 high school football games last weekend. The reason that we had 3, and this is a story that we'll continue to follow. The Oak Hill Oaks canceled their football game against Minford that was to have been played at Minford last Friday.
Do you know if Minford ended up having a game?
I know that they were looking for a game. They didn't feel like they would have much luck, but they wanted to have a game to replace Oak Hill. I don't think they did. I've got the score sheet here. I don't see Minford on it.
That was going to be Minford's homecoming game.
I think I saw a Facebook post, James, where they rescheduled their homecoming in October. Yeah. So they'll probably trade off another home game for that. And I know it was very disappointing to Minford, but I'm sure it's a very tough thing for Oak Hill. The kids that are healthy, that want to play, the cheerleaders, the band, where the football games are a big event. But, if the injuries were sufficient enough on a small roster to force a cancellation last week, and they were looking out for their kids. Sure. They said that.
Oh, sure.
We'll just have to see about where we stand going into next week because, this is the 5th week of a 10-week season. So we'll see what happens there. We know from covering the last football game where Oak Hill and Rock Hill played, Oak Hill had several major injuries during that game, and that put Oak Hill in a situation where they felt like there just wasn't enough healthy players to play. You got to have 11 on the field at the same time, and several of these schools that Oak Hill plays, frankly, are larger schools. It puts Oak Hill at a disadvantage naturally anyway. Yeah. But as far as our other games from last week, we want to mention
a lot of points scored in that Jackson game.
Well, exactly. Believe it or not, this was more like a basketball score. But this was not basketball. This was football. Jackson 56, Western Brown 48. Dan and Pete were at that game. And I tell you what, amazing as it is, that's about how the Jackson Western Brown game have been every year. The Ironman faithful were hoping that since Drew Novak, the great quarterback of Western Brown, graduated, now playing at Ashland College, we wouldn't have that. But they've got another kid that's, I think, pretty good too.
Yeah. So I see here in Brock Netter's article, that's the most points Jackson's given up in 10 years.
You know what? I didn't even know that myself. But being the stat man, I'll have to say I don't remember 48 points being given up.
Yeah, he says most points since... First time they've given up over 45 points since 2013.
Wow. Okay. And that was probably against Joe Burrow in Athens, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you might be right.
But anyway, Jackson, I was there, James. Jackson got ahead 14-0, and it looked like, this might not be too difficult at all. But after that, it was kind of like a tennis match. Touchdown, 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 touchdown. Of course, the teams, the offenses in particularly were great. Western Brown mainly passing, Jackson mainly running. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention an individual, Cade Wolford, Jackson's senior running back, who's having such a great season. He ran for 252 yards, had 4 touchdowns rushing, ran a kickoff back 70 yards for a touchdown, had 2 punt returns that set up touchdowns, had over 440 yards in total offense. Didn't catch any passes this time because they didn't throw the ball very much. But just an amazing game for him. His father, I remember covering his father. I'll date myself. This was in the late 90s. He ran, if I recall correctly, for 300 yards in one game against Point Pleasant. And I'm thinking Cade might beat that. But, as the game went on, this is strange. Even though Jackson ran the ball and Western Brown passed the ball, Western Brown kept hogging the ball in the second half because they had a passing game where they would throw short or intermediate, and they kept
Yeah.
the ball. They had a 19-play drive in the third quarter, had the ball almost the entire third quarter. So Cade didn't get his hands on the ball as much as he normally would have. But when he did, he usually
Sure.
going for a touchdown. But that is an amazing individual performance there. His brother Bodie threw a touchdown pass. His younger brother, he is the quarterback. But Jackson now 3-1 on the season. Even though giving up all those points at the end of the day, it's still
Win's
a win
a win.
against a pretty
Yeah.
good team, Western Brown.
Yeah. And then so Wellston, they dropped another heartbreaker to Portsmouth West, and the really tough night for the Vinton County Vikings. Or wait, or did they win?
They won.
They won. Okay, I read this wrong. I apologize. I read it wrong. I thought I read it that they
It was
lost.
a tough
No,
night
it
for
was
the
a
Meigs
tough
Marauders.
night. Tough night for the Meigs Marauders. I apologize. I read that headline wrong. 54-0 over Meigs.
Right. I mean, TJ Carper has the Vikings rolling. They're 4-1 now. They won 4 in a row. Remember, they lost their first game against a very good Unioto team by 1 point. The first opener. The difference was an extra point kick that didn't work out for the Vikings. So they are rolling now. That was their first conference game. Their defenses have been lights out, and obviously they're scoring a lot of points too. Their special teams are playing very well. And so they have a big game. They had a 3-game road trip, so they've won They've won 3 in a row on the roads. They're 3-1 now, not 4-1. They will play their 5th game, and it's also a conference game against Athens this Friday at home. So that's a
Okay.
big game.
Yeah.
Athens
Oh, yeah.
has won 1 game, but they won big over Alexander, and Athens, the largest enrollment school in the TVC. So that'll be a big game for the Vikings. The Ironmen will be home against Hamilton Ross. That is a large school just outside of Hamilton, Ohio. That'll be a non-conference game.
All right. Well, Pete, thanks for all the news this morning. And again, thank you everybody for watching. We apologize for having a little bit of technical issues today. We will have it all sorted tomorrow. Jennifer will be back. I do have a note here from Jennifer here, Pete. She says, I'm glad you had to do that Taco Bell story because I would not have been able to get through it.
Okay.
So Jennifer will be back tomorrow, and hopefully the computer will be working properly. So
Right.
thanks.
And remember, the thing that we learned from all this is when you go through the line at Taco Bell, make sure you check your bag for a correct order.
Yes. All right. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Jeremiah. Thanks, Dylan. We will be back here first thing tomorrow morning. Bye, guys.
All right. Thank you very much.